There are many ways of creating good enough boundaries. This is one way, but it's certainly not the only one. But it's one that I've found particularly useful because of the old idea of the golden rule. Treat others how you want to be treated. See, the golden rule isn't a rule. It's a value. And values are much more useful than rules. A value is something that you want. Where a rule is usually something that you don't want. Treat others how you want to be treated. Don't steal, don't hit, don't be disrespectful. One value equals 1,000 rules. And so what I often recommend to families, in the family work I do, or when they get together to talk about how things are going to be within the family, it's much more effective to talk about what you do want than what you don't want. Because if the focus is on what you don't want, then you've got to spell out in detail all the different options. And often young people or kids will find a way around the rule, and then you have to make another rule or another exception. Where a value covers a whole bunch of different rules. So if talking about rules, within the book The Good Enough Parent, you'll see there's a particular approach using a family meeting where you meet every week and you try to make it fun and playful, and the focus is initially on what you do want, you brainstorm what you do want, choosing a particular value, and then from there you, if the value isn't being met, you then add rules to meet those values. Well, that's one way. But another way is just to have an open discussion. Well, what do we want? For example, say in your family there's a lot of yelling. Well, it might be that the value you want is peace. A peaceful home. So rather than having a whole bunch of rules about don't yell, don't scream, well, if we can agree that we all want a home where it's peaceful, because probably the children don't like being yelled at as much as the parents don't like being yelled at. The yeller doesn't like it, the person being yelled at doesn't like it. So the value of a peaceful home, you could focus on that. Hey guys, for the next week, why don't we just focus on trying to create more peace in our home? And let's playfully see what we can come up with. See if someone can come up with a really good idea that works. Now, maybe you'd be surprised how often kids do come up with things that might work. The very fact of just naming it means that instead of when the kids are yelling, you're saying, hey, don't yell. You can say, hey, remember we wanted a peaceful home. I'm not quite sure how what you're doing meets that. There's basically 4 values that cover most things. A safe house, where we care for people and we care for things. We're all improving. I mean, these are, things that it's pretty hard to argue against. It's pretty hard to argue you want an unsafe home, that you don't want to care. I mean, if you don't care for people, that means no presents, no holidays. That means we don't spend money on you. That means we don't really care about whether you like the food or not. Don't care for things means, I can come and pour a hot drink over your computer, can I? Can I destroy your posters? Is that the family you want to live in? What kind of family do we want to live in? Well, typically we all have things we want cared for. We want to live in a family where our things are respected. And if you want to live in a family like that, then that's how we treat each other. Typically, children want the benefit of parents improving the situation, like going to work, like putting effort into getting a good job and getting a good car and going on good holidays. It's pretty hard to argue that you want your parents to give up their job, go onto welfare, move from a nice suburb to a less nice suburb. It's pretty hard. That wouldn't make sense. So these are the big four that cover most things. But if your kids come up with something like peace, or maybe a fun family, or a happy family, or whatever they come up with, you try to run with it. And initially you just run with the value for a week. You only add a rule if, despite acknowledging this is what we want, we can't get there. So the rule is based upon the value. So because we want a peaceful home, there's no yelling inside. Because we want to care for people, we don't hit in this family. Because we want to care for things, and our family has things called carpets and kitchens and toilets, well, we do our chores. And if, despite having the rule isn't being met, well, then we need some costs to make it worth their while to do it, or not worth their while to not do it. So costs can be either a reward or a promise. You could use the word punishment if you wish, but generally a cost, the idea is the event doesn't matter, it's what happens next that matters. The reason we put a cost on a broken rule is not to punish them for breaking the rule, it's to deter them from doing it next time. So, you can hit if you want, the shopkeeper saying, take what you want and pay for it. You can hit if you want, but you'll pay the cost. And if you hit again, the cost is going to be whatever it is, whatever we come up with. It's whatever it takes. What's it going to take for you to not yell inside? What's it going to take for you not to hit your sibling? What's it going to take for you to do your chores? Because that's what we'll do. And we can try rewards, and we can try punishments, promises, whatever you want to call it. The classic one for yelling inside is a logical cost. Well, if there's no yelling inside, then yellers go outside. If someone's yelling, everything stops until the yeller goes outside. And it only has to be for half a second if the yelling has stopped. Go out, come back in straight away. Yellers go outside. When the parent yells, they have to go outside. If you're driving the car and someone's yelling in the car, you just pull the car over. You stop where you're going. Hop out, and as soon as they stop yelling, the blinker goes back on and off you drive. It's not personal, it's just business. If you yell inside, then you go outside. If you hit, maybe what worked with our kids is no TV for a day. Took a while, took a few weeks, but in the end, they discovered it's not worth it. And it wasn't a punishment. It's, that's a shame, because now the TV goes off for a day. Because I wanted you to have the TV, because your favourite show's coming on. How about we tape it for you, and you can watch it tomorrow, but you can't watch it today. Because we care for people, we don't hit, and so there's no TV. It's not personal, it's just the business of us getting along. If you do your chores, well, there's the intrinsic reward of doing a chore, but maybe there's money, or maybe the person who does the chore gets your money. Maybe there's some kind of cost. Maybe if the mum has to do, or the dad does your chores because you haven't, you have to pay them. out of some collection of money. There's so many. I mean, I do this obviously a lot with people, and there's hundreds of rules, hundreds of costs. You give it a go, the more playful you can be. It's no big deal. We're just going to try this for a week. We're going to try. I had one kid who wouldn't attend school, and for a week, the parents gave him $5 every time he went to school, just for a week, and he went to school every day. Oh, so the next week, it was different. It was changed. Because we're not going to do that forever, but it shows that you can do it. You can try anything for a week. Because we want fun, we play games weekly. Or whatever it is that you choose. This is where your own family, only you know your family. You and your kids, go with what the kids say if you can. So whatever you choose, you have to go through with it. Whatever you choose, has to apply to everybody. Value-based rules for the families apply to everyone. A specific child may need a specific rule or value or cost, but that's not what you do as a whole family. If it's with a particular child with a particular problem, you wouldn't do it with the other siblings, you'd do it just with them. And you could still go through, why. This is kind of like the why. Why do we want peace? And so how do we make it happen? Good enough boundaries.